Let's have a talk about what's coming next in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, before we start, it's a lot. Get yourself a drink that will help you through this. I have got my Copilot drink bottle. I've just got water in here, but there has been a fair amount of coffee consumption and other beverages of choice in putting this together, because honestly, the pace of change of what's going on with any AI technology is very fast and sometimes a little overwhelming. I'm feeling it. I'm sure you might be too, but I'm here to help you go through what's coming. These are features that have just been announced, and these are rolling out from late May 2025. My read on that situation, Microsoft build is late May. I think that's about the time frame when we're going to start seeing more of this. So what I've got for you here is a bunch of static images, concepts, and I promise you, as I get these things in my hands, I will share more of what's going on here so that you can understand even better, because it's much better when I can get them really happening. So let's get into it. There's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about first that are really, really key concepts that are underlying kind of the most important things that are going on here. The first one is around reasoning models. This is a new type of model. So we've had ChatGPT models where we can get answers to things. It takes your input and it comes back with the output. But research models do much more thinking in between. They're actually able to reason. This is like a much more experienced senior colleague who can kind of run with a task and do all the research on its own, rather than someone who is just taking the information like your enthusiastic intern and coming back with it. Stay tuned on this reasoning concept. We're going to come back to that. The other one is memory. And so memory is something I've had a lot of people ask as we look at Microsoft 365 Copilot things, can it understand more about my preferences and my context and what's going on? So for the first time now, we're going to start seeing that come through here. And again, this is a space to watch. This is very much about, rather than having to start a new chat with new context every time, which is kind of annoying, that the models are actually improving in terms of their memory of understanding everything that's going on, so that it's more like having an ongoing conversation where it knows you. Now, for all of us, I've said this before with these models and this technology, there's a line where it goes from helpful to a little bit creepy and a little bit confronting and back again. So we're going to be moving back and forth across those things. But I hope what you'll see here, you'll find value, and I'm going to help you understand the value of what's coming. So the announcement is essentially in 3 distinct parts, and I'm going to take you through each of these chapters here if you want to jump ahead to your favorite thing, but come on the journey with me. So the first thing here is the new capabilities in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Lots of new stuff coming into the chat and a new look and feel. Just go with it. It's worth it. New agents coming in, particularly using that reasoning capability that we just talked about, as well as some new tools coming into that Copilot control system that help you to secure, manage, and monitor what's going on. Subscribe to the channel if you would like more. As I said, as these things start to get real in my hands, I will be doing them. So let's start here with the new capabilities in Microsoft 365 Copilot. And the first one is a reimagined user interface. This is the current situation. Get this in your mind, and here's what it's going to look like coming into probably around that late May timeframe, or sometime in May. Don't have exact dates on these things. So a couple of things here. You've still got the Work and Web tab. If I just go back to my previous screen here, it is actually, as much as the change is disruptive, and I'm not going to lie to you, the first thing I saw when I saw this announcement, it was like, we've redesigned the user interface, and I actually had to just step away, get my drink, just calm, right? Because there's been so much change. But honestly, now that I've had a look at it and worked through some of this content, This is much cleaner. This design here with the panel down the right-hand side with all of my agents and then my chats, and honestly, these prompts that have come through as suggested prompts aren't always the most useful thing. This new UI actually is a whole lot cleaner and a whole lot better. More screen real estate for a start. Plus we've got down the side here, sort of everything happening down the left-hand side. I was finding, especially when I was using this in Teams, just the clutter of the menus around. So I think this is an improvement. And with this release, in addition to the way things are laid out, we should be expecting we should be expecting improvements in how the whole thing performs. So that's good. That is an ongoing thing. Please, with all of this stuff, don't just write it off if it performs badly once. There is so much improvement and so much work going on behind the scenes, and it seems like we're going to get a next level step up here. So again, we'll do a bit of a compare and contrast when that comes through. So let's sort of zoom in a little bit on this menu here. We've got chat right at the heart of it, but there's something I want you to notice right above chat there. Search. We are going to come back to that. It's the next thing I'm going to talk about here. So you'll see that we've got all of these things in a menu, and there are some new things in here. So search we're going to talk about, notebooks and create we're also going to talk about, but we've got this sort of collapsible menu down the side, but chat is really coming in at the heart of this product now. And you'll see here that chat is deliberately separated out from search. So let's take a look at why this has been done. I'm sure for almost all of you, one of the first things you did when you came into Microsoft 365 Copilot for the first time and you see that blank box there, what do? You search for something, right? Because we're all very used to the idea of needing to put a search thing into, you see a blank box, this is what we're used to doing, right? You go in and you put a search in there, and honestly, I've seen a lot of people using Microsoft 365 Copilot as an expensive search engine and honestly not getting the results they need because it's not necessarily what it was designed to be good at. But Microsoft has obviously seen that this is how people are using it. And so now this new search feature separates it from chat and actually does a good job of search. So this is now an AI-powered search, and it's combining what we always used to have as search. If you've seen that little search bar at the top of your Microsoft 365 app experiences or Teams, you would always get an experience like this. But now we've got that combination of that sort of relevant search and the AI search together. And as I said, separating it out from the chat. So I think that also helps with the mindset of these things because it is a different way of interacting with Copilot to sort of search versus chat. So first thing that happens when you click in that search box is you get automatically search results that are in the context of what you've been doing, relevant to what you've been doing, because a lot of the time you're looking for something that is relevant for your context. So first up, it's going to help you with that. Then if you actually use that search bar to type something in rather than just finding what you want, quite a lot going on the screen here. So we've asked it a question and you'll see what it's doing is this combination of both AI and relevant search. There's a major search engine out there that does this sort of behavior as well. So there's quite a few things in this release actually that are bringing in familiar experiences you might have seen in other products, which I think is actually really, really good. So now what we've got, you'll see the search results down the side there. We've also got search results on the right-hand side by app, including third-party apps. You can connect it to third-party apps. And Copilot is now generating its AI search results and bringing this in for you. So you've sort of got the best of both worlds going on here. I find at the moment when I'm using the Copilot chat to search for something, I often revert back to the main search because it is better. So I'm really happy to see these things coming together and can't wait to try it. The other thing that's really cool here though is that you've got results. So here we go. Here's a document. Is that document what I actually want? That Copilot design overview. And what you can do is get Copilot to summarize the document without having to open it. I'm just going to take a drink. I did say we'll pause along the way here from my matching drink bottle. So this is really cool, right? Search, combination of AI and relevant search, and also being able to get the summary of the document. So lots of things kind of coming in together here. The next piece here that I'm really excited about is the idea of notebooks. Now, if you've been familiar with or played with Notebook LM, competitor product in the consumer world, you might see some things here that are a little bit familiar to you. And there are some also things coming in here that are sort of bringing together the best of what Microsoft can offer in this space. I think this is going to be a really, really interesting one to play with. So the idea of a notebook here, now remember we're in the work context, because if you're going out and using Notebook LM, then you are putting your potentially sensitive work data out into a different system, which a lot of organizations will not allow you to do and should not allow you to do. So this is remember, all of this is bringing it into your secure environment. But the concept here is that you can pull together your content for a particular project or something you're working on. So this is almost a little bit like the way that I use OneNote, actually. And I think for me, this might be something where I start to lean into this instead of into OneNote. So I'm going to, like I said, I will stay subscribed. I will figure this out as we go along. But the idea here is that what we can do is bring all of that stuff together. Here's a project of some kind, and I'm going to bring in my chats, meeting notes, other pieces from documents, bring it all together here in the one space. And now I can use my Copilot to reason over all of that in context. So it's sort of a hybrid of different things coming in here. I did note, and I'm going to read this out in quote because this is from the new release website, which also I'll link that in the description for you if you want to go back and see the original source for all of this. Notebooks can even create a podcast style audio overview of your content with two hosts that walk you through key points. Now, depending on how familiar you are with other things, that was going to sound extremely familiar, or this might be brand new. So this is something we have seen with Notebook LM. I think that we will probably get a very similar experience. So if you haven't come across this idea before, this concept of being able to kind of understand things with people talking about it, AI-generated sort of chat about it to help you get across something is actually something that was really innovative and exciting. Very happy to see it coming into the Microsoft platform, and we'll give it a test when I get my hands on it. I can't wait for that. This piece here is interesting, Create. So you might be familiar with Microsoft Designer. We've had sort of the image generator tool inside Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is actually now kind of going further with those tools. So first up, we've got a state-of-the-art OpenAI GPT-4o model to help with image generation. Okay, great. Image generation's been there for a while, getting the models up to date, that's nice. But this has got more going on now than just image generation. Have a look at some of these things across the top here. We've got create an image. Okay, good. Design a poster. Write a draft. That's not an image generation thing. We'll come back to that in a second, because if you are working with this design a poster or designing anything in here, you can also bring your brand template in. So I think this is a really good uplift for the context of all of this at work. And remember, we are in a work tool here, not a consumer tool. So these things that help you do these things in the context of what you're doing at work, I think are going to make a big difference. So this can access your brand libraries, brand templates. So you want to kind of get those in there and then generating those posters and things. And I have actually seen a live demo of this, and it's actually, it works. It's pretty cool. So let's come back to this idea of the write a draft piece, because this is a little bit of a different thing. What's going on here? Because this is not just like we're in this create. It's very deliberately called create now and not image generation. So we're doing a design, but now we're saying write a draft. And this looks like describe what you want to create, upload a file to suggest content. But look at this, project update, meeting agenda. This feels like Microsoft Word, except that it's not Microsoft Word. And in fact, if you come across here to this menu on the side, you can create all these things. But look at this, I can create a document, a presentation, a workbook. You'll see the icons in there. But this is interesting. We're actually creating from a central place rather than, oh, I'm going to go to Word and create a document. I'm going to come here and create an image and then a PowerPoint and a Word document. So this is a really interesting space to watch. Central sort of start here to create what you want to create rather than thinking about which app to go to first. Interesting. All right, another little sip from my matching drink bottle here. Memory and personalization. We talked about memory earlier, This is all I've got. I don't have any screenshots. I don't have any moving pieces yet. But this idea, and this is something that everyone has wanted, is how can Copilot understand you better? Like, it's got access to all of your work data, everything you're doing at work, but every time you start a new chat, you are starting again. And in fact, if you get more than 30 turns into the chat, it'll cap out and then you have to start again and you lose all the context of that. Not good. So this is actually going to be really good. The idea here is that Copilot learns how you work, understands your needs and preferences in the way that you interact with it. So I think this is going to give us that much more sophisticated ability to have that ongoing chat and for it to understand how you like to work, rather than every time you have to go, no, I don't want that kind of answer, I want this kind of answer, or talk to me in this kind of way. As I said, I don't have any pictures of this one yet, but memory is a concept now that is coming in. The language models are getting better at this, so I've got my hopes up for this one. Now, new agents. This is where I get excited. I think, where some of the other pieces around the reorganization of the UI, I'm a little bit like, oh, can we just pause for a second? But the new agents, this is where we get into using these reasoning models and the level of what these things can do. Just get ready for this. This is next level kind of stuff. So 2 agents here in particular that are using these reasoning models. So remember, the concept of the reasoning model is that it's not just going input, generate an answer from what it knows, output. It's actually taking your input and thinking about how to solve the problem, kind of figuring out how to solve the problem. So anything you're doing at work that involves problem solving or brainstorming or analyzing data, wait for it for the next agent, these 2 agents have got capability that's way above and beyond just this kind of chat thing. And I think these 2 are honestly big game-changing things that are going to make the value of what we're doing in Microsoft 365 Copilot just level up. So the Researcher agent, here's the example that was provided in the launch from Microsoft. So again, this nice new interface. We're starting to like the look of this now. I'm kind of like warming to it already. I'm going to go back after I've recorded this video into my regular one and go, oh, I want this one now. So what we're doing is asking it to create something, to create a marketing plan. So we're asking it to do some kind of research and pull a whole lot of things together. Here's the thing, what it does, and I've used these kinds of reasoning models. If you'd like it sort of to understand more about reasoning models in general and how they work, let me know in the comments, because I think it would be good to do a video just on this concept. So let me know if this is something you'd like to understand better. So the researcher here, and this is what the reasoning models do, they don't just answer the question straight away. You're used to that. Here's my prompt, here's the response. What it actually does is comes back with some clarifying questions to ask you sort of how you want to think about it. So it always comes back with something like this. And then you have the chance to kind of give it a little bit more information. I've found when I've worked with this in other sort of products and in the main Copilot, in the consumer Copilot, you don't have to answer everything, like give it what you want. But then what it does is called chain of thought reasoning. It actually goes through and says, I'm considering this, I'm thinking about that, I'm looking into this. So you can actually kind of see the thought process going on and the reasoning process going on in here. Now, the thing that's really good here is that when you're using this in this context, in Microsoft 365 Copilot, remember it's got access to all of your documents, all of your work data, as well as the web, as well as other agents you've built. So we've got a sales agent here as well. So it is able to understand when and how to use all of those things to bring together. So it's actually doing research into the web, into all your documents, using any other agents that it's got access to come up with this. And then it comes back with this response that gives you this quite sophisticated answer and report, complete with all the citations. Obviously, you're going to check its work. But these reasoning models are going much deeper into that kind of concept of research. I can't wait to see the use cases for this at work, because these reasoning models can do something quite different. It's not a better than with the GPT models we've been used to, but it's serving a different purpose. And this is all quite new and quite different way of thinking. And I think we're going to be able to get a lot out of this. This one, though, the analyst, because I've seen people try to do data analytics with this stuff, and it hasn't been good at this in the past, right? You sort of go in and Originally some of the early language models, people were giving them basic math equations and it couldn't even do that. So this is, again, these reasoning models can do a whole other level of thing. So this is where you've got data at work across multiple different sources. You've got a spreadsheet here, you've got a Word document there, like we've all got bits and pieces from everywhere. And you want to kind of pull these things together and understand patterns and outliers and all of these sorts of things. So first thing, you can come in here and choose the document or documents that you want to work with. Very familiar sort of concept to things we've been able to do so far. And again, the reasoning model starts to show you it's working. It's going through saying, I'm breaking down the tasks, I'm analysing this, I'm evaluating that, so you can get a sense of what it's doing. The other thing it's doing is generating Python code. Now, this is incredibly useful for doing the analysis, but you do not need to understand. I don't write Python. I'm not doing anything here. It's basically leveraging that. We've actually seen in Copilot in Excel that there's an advanced analysis with Python, so it's drawing on something quite similar to that. Not sure yet how those two things will overlap, but in the end, you basically get analytics, you get a report, it generates charts for you. So I think this one, again, like these two, the researcher and the analyst, I think these are where we level up from just kind of a chat experience into something that has much higher value. There is another agent in here. This one has also just been announced, which is the skills agent. And this is working on a new layer that is part of Microsoft 365 that's coming through, which is called the people skills data layer that understands sort of all the skills based on everything that you do. This is an evolution of what was skills in Viva, if you've been familiar with that. Not something that I've used before. You can see me checking my notes here. But this is an area where this people skills data layer understands your skills, understands the skills of your colleagues. So what we can do with this agent is come in here and say, who can help me with something? So I could use this as an employee to find colleagues who have skills to help me work on something. I can use it for myself to see what my skills are. I can upgrade my skills. I can go in and update my skills. But it also, you can ask it, hey, this is my career plan. How can I improve skills? What skills do I need? So you can kind of use it as a bit of a coach for yourself. And then as a leader, you can use it to do analytics. How many people have this particular skill on my team? And it's drawing out charts and things. So I think this is, again, using that kind of reasoning model in the background that we saw earlier. And under and around all of this is a new agent store. This is an evolution of what we had as the App Store in Microsoft 365. So now this is a place where you can go to find these new agents. So the Microsoft first-party agents that they're building and releasing will be found here. Some of them are under what's called a Frontier program. So you might see brackets Frontier. So that's something, another space to watch. But you'll have access to those. You'll have access to third-party ones. So again, this is not just connecting to Microsoft data. You can see you've got agents there that are connecting to other systems, as well as any custom agents that your organization has built and decided to share. So we'll have this central agent store. Now the third part of the announcements we've got going on here, how are we going? Take a deep breath. Okay. Third part of the announcements, the Copilot control system tools. So what we've got going on here is things that help you with securing, managing, and monitoring what's going on with your Copilots, which is really, really important. And this part actually is playing a little bit of catch up, I think, with some of the other advances. So it's good to see some things coming through here. So there are three different parts of this. Firstly, let's have a look at what's coming into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. A couple of new reports here. We've got a message consumption report. So this is giving you in near real time metered consumption of agents in Copilot Chat. You can see here the total messages consumed, the details. This is important because as we go through and build these agents and they do different things, the different skills that we give it, like is it grounded in your tenant data? Is it connecting to something else? The way that these things are built is by consumption of a number of messages. So especially if you're on a pay-as-you-go model rather than with the main license, this is actually going to be really important because it will give you visibility about which agents are consuming what and what's going on. We've also got this agent usage report. So this will also help you to understand the agent usage. And you can see here, we've also got like total active users, users by publisher type, agents by publisher type. You'll be able to see which are being used by licensed users for Microsoft 365 Copilot versus the unlicensed users. So licensing is a whole other video. Do you want a licensing video? You want a licensing video, don't you? Let me know. Ask nicely in the comments. I'll do a licensing video. I know we need it. It's a whole video. The other thing that we've got here is the agent management tools. So this is going to give IT admins the ability to manage agent deployment and allowing them to enable, disable, or block, including by security groups. I apologize for the slight blurriness of these images. This is as good as I could get from the release announcements, not your eyesight. So the second thing we've got here is a Copilot Studio Agents report. So Copilot Studio is the tool that we're using for building agents, both in that Microsoft 365 chat experience as well as standalone agents. But this is going to be a report that's available in Viva Insights that gives you information about the experience that people are having with the agents, the session outcomes, how long they've been used for, the number of sessions. So you're getting a lot of metrics to help you understand how are your agents working, and importantly, where is it hitting that business value? Where are you getting that return on investment? The middle bottom panel here, the top agents used. So we've got an IT support agent and a sales agent there. So you can start to see how much those are being used and therefore how much of that investment is helping you with those processes. So more visibility on the analytics around those things with the agents that are built in there. And then for those of you who use Purview, and you should be using Purview with this tool set, we have got more tools coming in here that are going to allow administrators to manage the data security risks associated with agents. So these reports are helping you understand any sensitive data that's being accessed by agents. You can identify gaps in security policies and take action. So it's giving you both that kind of dashboard, but also these types of insights here that are saying, here's an alert for something risky that's going on. Here are potentially inappropriate uses. Here is where sensitive data is being used. So I know that this whole area is something that has been a bit of a blocker for some organizations to get started. So these reports giving more visibility and importantly kind of actions that you can take is hopefully going to help with breaking down those barriers. So I am most excited here about search being separated out from chat so that we can really get the most out of those two things, that we're not kind of doing an expensive search engine experience with poor results. We're going to get good AI-enabled search separated from the concept of chat. I think that's really going to help with the mindset. Notebooks. I'm really excited about this idea of being able to come in and put together all of this stuff in the one place, kind of keep it in this persistent place, build it a little bit like I do in OneNote or like we might have been doing in Loop, and then be able to use Copilot to reason over that. And let's see what happens with this little two-person podcast that we can create out of it. But the researcher and the analyst agents, I think, are complete game changers. As I said, I will be making videos on those. Stay tuned for that. I've got a playlist here with all of these things. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, for going along the journey here with me. I know it's a lot. I hope this has really helped you. You deserve your drink, whatever that was at the end of that. Thank you very much.